Imagine a time before cars, before electricity, even before America. Picture a world where the hustle and bustle of modern life was replaced by the slow, rhythmic pace of simpler times. No buzzing of engines, no flickering of electric lights, just the natural sounds of nature and the occasional chatter of people. Way back then, folks were already puffing on something, tobacco. Yes, even in those ancient days, the allure of tobacco had already taken hold. Indigenous people from various cultures had discovered the plant and were using it in their daily lives, often in ceremonial or ritualistic contexts. Yep, for centuries, people around the world were chewing, sniffing, and even blowing smoke from pipes. Crazy, right? Tobacco was not just a pastime, it was an integral part of social and cultural practices. From the ornate pipes of Native American tribes to the snuff boxes of European aristocrats, tobacco found its way into the hearts and lungs of people everywhere.
But here's the thing. Cigarettes, those little white sticks we know today, weren't always around. They had to be invented, refined, and popularized. The journey from raw tobacco leaves to the neatly packed cigarettes we see today is a fascinating one, filled with innovation and ingenuity. They had a whole journey of their own, evolving from those early tobacco practices. Tobacco cultivation itself underwent significant changes, from small-scale farming to large plantations. The methods of harvesting, curing, and processing the leaves became more sophisticated over time, paving the way for the mass production of cigarettes.
And let me tell you, it's a story full of twists, turns, and more than a few smoke-filled rooms. The social acceptance of smoking evolved alongside the product itself. Smoking lounges became popular gathering spots, and the act of smoking was often associated with sophistication and leisure. From ancient rituals to modern marketing campaigns, the history of cigarettes is a wild ride. The Mayans and Aztecs used tobacco in their religious ceremonies, believing it had spiritual significance. Fast forward to the 20th century, and you'll find tobacco companies using clever advertising to make smoking seem glamorous and desirable.
So buckle up, kids, because we're about to dive headfirst into the hazy, smoky, and surprisingly fascinating story of the cigarette. From its humble beginnings to its rise as a global phenomenon, the tale of tobacco is one of human curiosity, cultural exchange, and, of course, a lot of smoke. Get ready to explore how a simple plant became a symbol of rebellion, sophistication, and controversy. So, how did we go from chewing tobacco leaves to those perfectly packed little cigarettes? It's a fascinating journey that spans centuries and continents, involving sailors, inventors, and even a bit of luck. Well, it all started with a little something called the papiro. This was no ordinary paper. It was a game changer in the world of tobacco.
Now, before you go ordering a papyrus cigarette online, don't even try it. Let me explain. Papiro was a type of thin paper that was perfect for rolling tobacco, and it was used long before modern rolling papers were even a thought. Papiro was basically the OG rolling paper used by Spanish and Portuguese sailors way back in the 16th century. These sailors were the pioneers, taking their tobacco and rolling it up in this thin paper. They'd take their tobacco, roll it up in this thin paper, and boom. You've got an early version of the cigarette. It was simple, effective, and it caught on quickly among the seafaring community.
But it wasn't until the 19th century that cigarettes really started catching fire. This was the era of industrialization, and with it came the mass production of cigarettes. Factories popped up, churning out these little cigars by the millions. The process was mechanized, making cigarettes more accessible and affordable to the general public. And guess what? People loved them. The convenience, the flavor, and the social aspect of smoking made cigarettes incredibly popular.
Workers in these factories would hand-roll cigarettes before machines took over, and this craftsmanship added a personal touch to each cigarette. It was a blend of tradition and innovation that set the stage for the modern cigarette industry. Advertising also played a huge role. Early cigarette ads promised everything from better health to social status, making cigarettes not just a product, but a lifestyle choice. Smoking became a social activity, a way to bond and relax. It was seen in cafes, at parties, and even in workplaces. The cigarette had truly arrived, and it was here to stay. Fast forward to today, and the cigarette has evolved yet again. With new technologies and changing social attitudes, the story of the cigarette continues to unfold. But it all started with that humble papiro, rolled by sailors on the high seas.
Remember that whole factory thing? It was the dawn of a new era in manufacturing. Yeah, that was a game changer. Factories revolutionized the way we produced goods, and cigarettes were no exception. Mass production meant cigarettes were suddenly cheap and easy to get. They were no longer a luxury item, but something almost anyone could afford. No more hand-rolling, no more fuss. Machines took over, making the process faster and more efficient. Just light up and go. The convenience was unmatched, and people loved it. Then came the Crimean War in the 1850s. This conflict played a surprising role in the spread of cigarette smoking. Turns out soldiers from both sides were big fans of those convenient little cigarettes. They found comfort in them during the harsh conditions of war. They traded them, shared them, and basically turned the whole war into one giant smoking break. Cigarettes became a form of camaraderie among the troops. And guess what happened when the war ended? Those soldiers brought their smoking habits back home with them. Those soldiers went home, craving that nicotine fix. They introduced cigarettes to their families and friends. Cigarettes were officially a global phenomenon. The demand skyrocketed and the industry boomed. What started as a wartime habit quickly became a worldwide trend. The cigarette had truly made its mark on history. Now here's where things get really interesting. With cigarettes becoming all the rage, companies needed a way to stand out. And boy, did they get creative. We're talking catchy slogans, celebrity endorsements, even trading cards tucked inside every pack. Cigarettes were everywhere, in magazines, on billboards, even in the movies. It was the golden age of advertising, and these companies knew how to play the game. They made smoking seem cool, sophisticated, even healthy. Spoiler alert, it's not. Section 5, Hollywood's Burning Desire. Speaking of movies, let's talk about Hollywood's role in all of this. Back in the day, everyone and their grandma smoked on screen. Movie stars, gangsters, even cowboys. They all had a cigarette dangling from their lips. And you know what? It worked. People saw their favorite actors lighting up and thought, hey, if it's good enough for Bogey, it's good enough for me. It's amazing what a little on-screen influence can do. Section 6, the controversial appeal. So why were cigarettes so darn popular? Well, for starters, nicotine is addictive. Once you start, it's hard to stop, but it wasn't just the chemical hook. Cigarettes were marketed as a symbol of freedom, glamour, and even rebellion. For women, smoking was a way to challenge societal norms. For men, it was a sign of masculinity. And for everyone in between, it was a way to fit in, to relax, to be a part of something bigger. Section 7, a cloud of concern. But amidst all the smoke and mirrors, a dark truth was emerging. Doctors started noticing a disturbing trend. Smokers were getting sick, really sick. We're talking lung cancer, heart disease, the whole shebang. Suddenly those glamorous ads didn't seem so appealing. The truth about cigarettes was slowly starting to emerge, and it wasn't pretty. Section 8, the anti-smoking crusade. As the evidence against cigarettes mounted, people started fighting back. Scientists published studies, doctors spoke out, and activists demanded change. The anti-smoking movement was born. It was a long and difficult battle, but slowly but surely things started to shift. Governments implemented smoking bans, cigarette ads disappeared from TV, and warning labels got bigger and bolder. The tide was turning. Section 9, cigarettes today, a fading habit. So where do we stand today? Well, smoking rates have plummeted, especially in developed countries. People are more aware of the health risks than ever before. But here's the thing, cigarettes haven't disappeared entirely. Big tobacco is still out there, finding new ways to market their products, especially in developing nations. The fight's not over yet.
The fight's not over yet.
Section 10, what the future holds. The future of cigarettes is uncertain. Will they become a relic of the past, like top hats and rotary phones, or will they find a way to survive, like cockroaches after an apocalypse? One thing's for sure, the story of cigarettes is a cautionary tale. It's a reminder of the power of addiction, the influence of marketing, and the importance of fighting for our health. It's a story that's still being written, and only time will tell how it ends.